Okay, let's move on. So,
Yeah.
in the chapter The Romans in Britain, Adrian, you
Yes.
mentioned the fact that the most ancient roads in Britain are not Roman but British.
Yeah.
Other authors such as John Michel and Marshall Abrahams have also written about this. I did have it with me. In The Great Migrations, Marshall Abrahams records that in a quarry near Telford, a stretch of paved road was discovered and dated to about 100 BC, while at Inkpen, between Exeter and Totnes, a stretch of paved road has been discovered which lies on the route of the Fosse Way. So do you have any idea how long ago... Fossway, sorry, yeah. Do you have any idea how long ago the British started developing a system of roads, and why do academics refuse to give our ancestors any credit?
Because they're idiots. I mean, what we do know about the ancient Britons is that they used to like riding around in chariots.
Yes, of course, yeah.
Pulled by horses. Well, if you're going to ride around in chariots, you're going to need roads, aren't you? You might not mind bouncing around in a field when you're in a battle.
Yeah.
But mostly, you're going to want
just going about your business, you want a road, yeah.
A road of some sort, maybe not a Roman road. And I don't suppose they're in straight lines, you know, like the Roman ones. They're probably bending around here. And we know there are some, like the Icknield Way, that runs up from Wiltshire, maybe even further back than that, all the way up to Norfolk.
Yeah.
You know.
I seem to remember John Michel writing about this in the View Over Atlantis, and I think he said that our old British roads were straight, but I may have got that wrong, so I read it a long time ago.
Well, he was into straight lines.
You will, yeah.
Straight lines. But you know, I'm prepared to give away that point and say that, you know, if I was building a road, I wouldn't want to be making cuttings everywhere and embankments. I'd work my way around the hills and follow the river valleys as much as I could.
Yeah.
And I think the Britons probably did that. They wouldn't have been up to the standard of the Romans. And there's certainly, if you read your Geoffrey of Monmouth,
which I have done, yeah.
Which you have done, there's one of the kings in there who's credited with...
Dinfus Maudi, is it?
I forget which one it was now. It wasn't that long after Brutus. But was it Duffin Well Murmured?
I think, yeah. It's one of those, yeah.
Duffin
You're doing a much better job of it than I do.
Well, I'm missing a tooth, which makes it harder. But he's credited with creating a road system, and these were the king's roads. And this is where we have in our common law. It's actually still in force, you know, the common law.
Yeah.
That you have right of way on the king's road and you mustn't be harassed. You know.
Yeah.
Sole sanctuary of the highway. And Duffin Well Murmured is the guy who gave his name to Devon.
I didn't know that.
Devon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Dubonny tribe. You know,
I know them, yeah.
That B can also be a V. Dovunny. The Dovunny tribe. Devon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, right, okay.
And the capital of the Dovunny tribe, I believe, was Corinium.
Right. Okay.
Named after Corin, the first Duke of Cornwall, so called. Cornwall was that whole, it wasn't just what we call Cornwall, it was the whole southwest peninsula.
Right, okay.
Probably a bit more as well.
So, would it have included Glastonbury?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
That, what people call Glastonbury, which isn't the real one, but that's another story, isn't it?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So that king, what was his name again?
I think it was Duffin Well Murmured.
He's a very significant character in
Yeah,
that
he's
history.
very significant. Doing laws and highways and all sorts of stuff. Donald the Bald, it means.
Yes, that's right.
Man after my own heart.
Yeah. Okay, brilliant. Well, Adrian, in the chapter The Royal College of the Christians, you write that the early Christian church in Britain is known as the Chaldee, the Chaldean, and was founded by the apostles themselves.
Yes.
Can you tell us who the Chaldeans were and which apostles came to Britain, in your opinion?
Well, the original Chaldeans, the Chaldees, was in northern Mesopotamia, parts of what's now Turkey,
in Syria,
and that northern part of Syria, parts of Armenia. They're were called Chaldeans or Chaldeans, and their city, Ur of the Chaldees, was not Ur down in Sumeria, as Nenabuli claimed. That was much earlier.
Yeah.
The Chaldeans, the two Chaldeans, the Ur Chaldees is Urfa. It was Uchai.
Edessa.
Edessa.
Yes, I know, yeah.
And Edessa, which I've been to, and it's a wonderful place.
Yes.
Very, very interesting.
Yes.
There's a cave there, which is where Abraham was supposedly born.
Right.
And the Arabs there, you talk to the people there, they say, well, this is where Abraham was born, and it's a very holy shrine, I went into it. I didn't feel brave enough to take a photograph, which is all the people praying in there. I thought, no, I better not.
yeah.
I might get stoned. But there's a cave there, and the thing about Edessa, or Urfa, is that it has a water supply that never runs dry.
Yeah.
And you imagine that in a place like northern Mesopotamia, where there's a lot of desert around there.
That's been there for a very long time as well, isn't it?
It's probably there for, probably there at that same time as Göbekli Tepe, I would bet, which is just nearby.
Which is 9,000 BC, isn't it?
Yeah,
Something like that.
I bet Urfa is just as old as that, if not older.
Yeah. And of course, some people will say that Sanlurfa or Edessa was Jesus' hometown.
I don't believe that.
I didn't think you would.
No, that's Ralph Ellis, isn't it?
It is, yes. I've interviewed
I
Ralph a
love
few
it.
times.
I like him. He's a nice guy.
He's a nice guy.
I get on very well with
clever
him,
chap,
but I don't
yeah.
agree with his ideas.
Yeah, okay.
But that's, by the by, we each have our own freedom of speech.
Of course, yeah. Okay.
Right.
So, about the apostles coming to Britain, which particular apostles do you think came to Britain after the...
Well, the famous one, of course, is Joseph of Arimathea.
Yeah.
But also St. Barnabas.
Okay.
And
St. Paul.
St. Paul preached in London. So they say.
On Hill, yeah.
On that hill, yeah. And you can see his statue on a pillar there.
Yeah.
Where he supposedly preached to the Londoners.
Came past it on the train today.
Right, okay. And there was St. Philip probably came here. He's the great apostle of France. But he probably came here as well. But Barnabas and Ilid and the other one,
Some people have Simon Zealot's martyred in Lincoln.
Right.
I haven't looked into that one yet.
Okay, we know more about this than I do. There was the other guy who's in the Sanhedrin with Ilid.
Aristobulus.
He's another one who came here, Aristobulus. Anyway, so the principal one is Saint Ilid, who's Joseph of Arimathea, and Alan reckoned that the name Ilid comes from Gilead, and Gilead is an area on the east side of the Jordan River, up by Lake Tiberias, so Sea of Galilee. On the east side, it's now in Syria, I think. That's where there was a marker stone between Jacob Israel and his uncle from Haran, and they put up this marker. I won't go on your land, and you won't come on my land. We don't have any, fighting between us because we're family. So that was the Gilgal, I think.
Right.
There was a heap of stones there, and that marked the boundary. So it sounds like Saint Ilid might have come from Gilead.
Okay.
I don't know, but that was Alan's theory.
Interesting idea. Okay. Right, let's move on, Adrian. So
Yes, we better press on. But you only have to have an hour today, do you? Because
it's not my live stream. We can go on for as long as you like. Yeah.
Take your time.
Well, we'll do. Yeah. So, in the chapter "The Pirate Kingdom and Constantine's Succession," you inform the reader that the 260 to 274, that from 260 to 274 AD, Britain, Gaul, Germany, and for a time Spain formed their own empire. I was completely unaware about that. Never learnt that before. Can you tell us how this short-lived empire was to have such a profound effect on the whole history of Western Europe and on the Holy Kingdom?
Yeah, it's called the Gallic Empire. If you study Roman history, you will see it mentioned, but it's not talked about very much.
Okay.
And most people have this impression of the Roman Empire as this very strong military force that sort of just took over like the Soviet Union or something, and ran the place for 400 years, and then overnight almost sort of it was invaded by barbarians. Well, actually, it wasn't like that. It had its ups and downs, quite a lot. And there were periods when they had a strong emperor. You know, probably the peak of the Roman Empire was under Hadrian.
Okay.
Yeah, it was in 125 AD, something like
I
that.
don't want to digress too much, but I've been watching Claudius for the first time
Oh,
recently.
right, yeah.
So I've learned that Augustus he looked a very good emperor.
Augustus was an excellent emperor.
And of course, Claudius himself was he was a historian, wasn't he?
Yes.
And came across as being a very good emperor as well. And sandwiched between those two, you had Caligula, oh my God, and Tiberius.
And you had Nero after Claudius.
And yeah, that's right, yeah. So very up and down.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
And periodically, the families would run out of suitable heirs, and the Roman legions or the Praetorian Guard would sort of start putting people into role, you know.
Yeah.
So basically, it was being run as a dictatorship.
I think I heard towards the end that people were literally cutting their children's fingers off and thumbs to mutilate them so they wouldn't be pulled into the army towards the end of the empire. It was getting that bad. They were, you know, running out of soldiers. And
yeah, well, the trouble is what happened later on. We'll cover this bit first. You had situations when you had a weak central government, and then the provinces, there was always provincial guys who were running a province. They decided, well, I'd much rather run it for myself and us than pay taxes to Rome. So they would hive off bits. And this Gallic Empire grew up at a time when the Romans were being hard pressed in Africa and also in the east at Palmyra.
yeah,
You heard of
Palmyra, yeah.
Zenobia, Queen of Palmyra.
That's right, yeah, in the 4th century, I think.
Yeah, something like that. And their attention was being fixed over there. So these guys in the West were able to establish their own little empire with France and Spain and Germany and probably Britain as well, forming this bloc, which was being governed from Trier.
Right, okay, yeah.
Trier is another Troy, by the way.
And it's a very interesting place, yeah. I did a little bit of research on the pagan god Isis.
Right.
Do you know about the pagan god Isis?
No, I don't.
Yeah, there was a pagan god called Isis. He was one of 3 gods in this country. Tyrannus was another one, and Trigeranos, I might be getting that wrong. Anyway, he was one of 3 gods, and the people in Britain and Gaul were worshipping Isis in the 1st century, which I find very interesting. Why was I telling you that, Adrian?
About Trier.
Trier, yes. So there's 2 statues of Isis, and one was discovered in Trier.
Right.
Yeah, Trier is a very interesting place.
You know Saint Helen.
Yeah, she lived there.
And she gave the robe to.
That's right.
Still there apparently. Supposedly the robe of Jesus.
Well, I did wonder about that because, of course, we've got the Turin shroud, but we've actually got a garment from Jesus, and it's supposed to be at Trier.
The story goes, and you see it in the New Testament, that the guards cast lots for his robe. They didn't want to cut it up because it's a nice single piece of garment. Yeah. Beautifully made.
Yeah.
So it seems that somehow that survived.
And it's still there.
And it came into the hands of the Empress Helen. Right. And she donated it to Trier. I suppose a cathedral or whatever was there. Yeah. And apparently it's still there. I haven't seen it myself.
No, I'll have to look
that up. Might be interesting to go there and have a look.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I can't see that it's on display, surely. Surely not.
I don't know.
No, I have to look it up. But I read that, probably I read it in there, didn't I?
The Crown of Thorns is supposed to be in Notre Dame in Paris. What's left of it?
I didn't know that.
Oh,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's, all the thorns have been broken off. People have taken them as souvenirs over the centuries. So you just have the bare wood twisted up. Yeah. Supposedly it's the Crown of Thorns, but who knows?
Who knows, yeah. Who knows? Okay. Brilliant. Right, okay. Well, just last question on that. Yeah. How did the empire, that temporary empire, how did it finish? Because it didn't last very long, 260 to 274.
Yeah. There were 4 emperors of that, and eventually a guy called Aurelian, he dealt with the Eastern problem, and
Right.
he brought an army in and pulled it back.
Okay.
He later had a very unhappy ending.
Right.
He went to fight the Parthians,
Yeah.
and he got defeated and captured. And the Parthian general, or king I suppose, then had him as his slave, and he'd use him as a footstool to stand on when he was mounting his horse. And after he had died, they skinned him, and they kept the skin.
Wow.
And any Romans that would come, they would show them the skin of Aurelian.
Oh dear.
Yes.
Wow.
Hard times, eh?
Yes, definitely.
Go from emperor to being a slave.
It's like a different planet in a way, you know, with people being crucified,
Oh,
and
God.
Nero burning Christians, and
Yeah.
you know, it's hard to
He
contemplate.
wasn't the worst.
He was worse than Nero, Adrian. Caligula?
Diocletian for a start.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, sorry, we don't want to digress too much, okay. So, moving on a bit. So, in our first discussion together, you revealed that you no longer agree on Wilson and Blackett on their identification of Arthur I
No.
in the Welsh records. In the chapter, The Glastonbury Hoax, you mentioned the story of the slaying of an Irish chieftain called Rueth in 367 AD on the slopes of Mount Snowdon by Arthur I. So, for the purposes of this recording today, can you please explain again why you have changed your position on Arthur I, and if Arthur didn't slay Rueth, who did?
Probably Magnus Maximus, but
Right, who was the alleged father of
yeah.
Arthur I, yeah.
The reason I changed my opinion about Arthur I, there's two reasons. First of all, I told you I had a look at the Black Book, the Harleian 3859.
Right.
And I looked at the actual names in list 4,
Yeah.
and it's not Arthur.
It says...
Alan kept telling me, no, it's Arthur, don't believe them, those idiots don't know what they're talking about. Well, I had to look for myself. It says Anton.
Anton, yeah.
Anton.
A-N-T-O-N?
T-H-U-N. Anton.
Okay.
Oh, Anton. Anthony, anyway.
Yeah.
So he's not Arthur, So also the second reason is that I think if you're going to start trusting genealogies, you can't pick and choose that like that. And all the genealogies of Wales will tell you that there was this Breton dynasty descended from someone called Conan. Not Conan the Barbarian, Conan the Briton, who Magnus Maximus put in charge of Brittany. Magnus Maximus moved a whole army to Gaul, and he left a lot of people there to take over Brittany, Little Britain. Right? And he put this guy in charge, and the dynasty descended from him. And then later on, you had, after the Romans had departed, you had a king called Constantine, who was deposed by Vortigern. Right?
Yeah.
And Vortigern was from the Gewissae, which is the borderlands, near the River Severn.
Yeah.
Around Gloucester area, down to Bristol, that sort of area. So Vortigern deposed and killed, or he had his Scottish, not Scots, they're Picts, Praetorian Guard to get rid of this troublesome guy and let him be king. Then he had them murdered, which started the Pictish War, which caused such trouble. Anyway, that's a whole other story. But this Constantine had two brothers, young brothers, who were taken to Brittany, and they were Aurelius, right, and his brother Uther.
Right.
And they then came back with an army and defeated Vortigern and defeated the Saxons and shut up Vortigern in his castle, and he was burnt alive.
Wow.
And that was in Wales, just over the border in Wales there. I can't remember exactly where, but people know. So Arthur is supposedly the son of Uther.
Yeah.
But I think that might be also a lie.
Okay.
Because in the traditions, or I think it's even in Geoffrey of Monmouth, I can't remember now. But in the traditions that Uther went to Cornwall and laid siege to Tintagel, where the Duke of Cornwall lived with his beautiful wife, Egerda, and he desired her. You've probably seen Excalibur, haven't you?
Yeah.
And he has Merlin cast a spell so he looks like her husband.
That's right. I remember reading this in Geoffrey of Monmouth.
And goes in and does the business.
Yeah.
And as a result, she later gives birth to Arthur.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's Uther's son. I think the truth is that she was pregnant from the Duke of Cornwall.
Right.
And that's why Arthur was banished away, or he was supposedly taken away and hidden from Uther, wasn't he?
Yes.
And brought up as by a woman in the forest or something, and then he had to come and claim his sword. Yeah. To become king of Britain.
Mm.
So I think he was probably descended from the Duke of Cornwall, really, by blood.
Right.
Because his mother had been, taken away and married Uther. Yeah. Who was not a very nice bloke, from what we can tell. Mm. Anyway, that's what I think. So I think we're looking at a different Arthur, very brave Arthur, very good Arthur, but not the son of, or the sixth generation descent from Magnus Maximus, or the no, he would have been the son of Magnus Maximus, or this. Yes. So, and then the other Glamorgan king, Arthur II, you've got the genealogy clear in the Harleian manuscripts, you know, tracing him back, to the earlier kings of Glamorgan, like Caractacus, and going back all the way up to Brutus. You got that there. So there's no mystery there, really. Two separate kings, and I believe there are two separate battles of Baden as well.
Oh, okay. Right.
Because we have the, in here, Alan was very definite of this place north of Maesteg, battlefield place. And I went with him there to see it. And the names are there. It was clearly a battle fought there, and it's called Blyden Farm there, but I do believe now, and I'm going to show you something else here to clarify this for you, if I can. See, I come well prepared. No, it's not that book. Where's it gone? Oh, here. Now, Adam believes, I believe, that Arthur II died in 570. Yeah? Yeah. Now, if we look...
That would have been shortly after the comet, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we look in the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle, yes, we have the whole, history, and I could go into that. I want to do a book on Hengist and Horsa at some time.
Who, sorry?
Hengist and Horsa.
Right.
Who were the first Saxons, well, they weren't Saxons, they were Jutes. Came to Kent.
Yes.
I'm a Kentish man.
Yeah.
I have an interest. I'm half Welsh and half English.
Okay.
So I've got a foot in both camps.
Yeah.
But they had descendants, and then you had the Wessex genealogies, and a lot of that is in here, but it's been mixed up because they don't take into account when they truly invaded the Isle of Wight, but that's another story here. But in here, we got descendants from, you had Cerdic and Cunric, his son. They did start doing the business for Wessex. Right. And descended from them, you get Colin, yeah. And Cother, and they have a fight with Ethelbert, or Ethelbert, and put them to fight into Kent, killing two ealdormen at Wimbledon, Oslaf and Cuba. So you had a fight between Wessex and Kent there. That was in 568, right? And then 571, Cuthwolf fought the Brito-Welsh at Bledcanford and took 4 villages, Limbury, Aylesbury Beddington, and Evesham. So they're into the Cotswolds then, aren't they? Evesham, Aylesbury, that's Oxfordshire, isn't it? Aylesbury? No, is it?
You're going up from here.
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly where.
Near Beaconsfield, is it?
Right,
It's somewhere
yeah.
up that way.
Mm-hmm.
He died the same year, so Cuthwell's dead. And then we have 577. So this is after Arthur II has died,
Yeah.
in 570.
Mm-hmm.
Cuthwine and Colin fought the Britons and killed 3 kings, Conmail, Condidan, and Farinmail, in the place called Durham. They took 3 cities, Gloucester, Cirencester, and Bath. Right?
Right, okay.
Now, Durham is just north of Bath.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you ever go to Bath from the M4, you turn off, you go down that long winding road, the hill, yeah?
I know what you mean, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That big hill behind is the mound of Bath.
Okay. Right,
Mons
yeah.
Bordonis.
Wow.
So that's where that battle took place.
Wow. Yeah, yeah.
And the importance of that battle, they took these 3 cities, Bath, Cirencester, and Gloucester, yeah, and that effectively cut off the southwest peninsula from Wales.
Mm-hmm.
So it separated the Britons of the southwest from the Britons of Wales. There was another battle, I think, must have been up near Liverpool somewhere, or probably Chester. I think there was a battle of Chester.
Dewar, was it, or something like that? Possibly?
Yeah, Dewar is up in Northumberland.
Dewar in Cheshire.
On the Dee, River Dee.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe. But anyway, there was a battle there that separated the Britons of the north from the North Welsh. So you're getting England cutting off these bits and pieces, and then they can deal with them separately, in the separate battles, and eventually it just leaves Wales.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Cornwall for a long time, still speaking Welsh, sort of. So that, I think, is the second battle of Baden, but they don't call it that. They call it the Battle of Durham. But Durham is right there where we're talking about, where the hill is and the winding road.
Yeah.
There's Durham Park there. You can go,
Yeah.
you can go there today.
Yeah.
So that's what I think is the truth about that. All of that. The first battle, perhaps it was fought by Arthur I. But this one is the second Battle of Baden, and I don't think either Arthur was actually there.
Okay, that's very interesting.
His other kings died.
Yeah. 3
of them. When they say they're kings, they're probably the rulers of those 3 cities.
Okay, that's something for me to look into.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I don't know everything, but this is what I've worked
That's an
out.
interesting theory, yeah.